Hey y'all, I'm going live today. I want to go over this Zillow announcement that came out yesterday. So the preface of this is on March the 15th, everybody in the world heard about the settlement agreement between NAR, National Association of Realtors, regarding there was a lawsuit that there was collusion basically between the brokerages on price fixing. That was never proven. However, this is an industry that is long overdue for some change. Okay, so I completely agree with that. I come out of the tech world. I love it. That's why I love the brokerage I'm with. I love the embracing of technology, the change, the what the technology will provide for this industry. This industry is ripe for some significant change. Now, the one thing I will give Zillow is they conquered search, so they became the Kleenex of the industry by being one of the first search platforms for the MLS listing service for the general public. You can search that listing service on hundreds of websites. Every agent in the country should have a website. Some don't. So Zillow conquered search. It's a commodity. None of the tech companies are trying to compete with them for that. So how does Zillow make their revenue? And this is important because of the announcement I'm about to tell you about. They make their revenue as an advertising platform, and they advertise to the agents. There are agents paying tens of thousands of dollars a month to have their name on that web page when you see a house you think you like. I call that browsing. I'm not even going to call you a buyer. You're a browser. You're browsing and you want to see a house. Well, if I click this button, they'll tour. Somebody will take me on a tour. It's happening, sellers. It's happening today. Okay, they don't know each other. They're going to meet for the first time looking at a house. Okay, sellers, what do you think the probability is that that person would actually buy your house? One, the agent doesn't even know if they're qualified. Two, they're just browsing. And if that house just hit the market and they haven't done any of that work, the chances of them winning that house are almost zero. Slim to nothing. The reason I know this is I've done hundreds and hundreds, and I'm not exaggerating. And I have 3 times represented people who came through an open house and wanted to buy the house. And the only reason I entertained writing those offers is because I knew those homes weren't competitive, or were, there was a chance to win. First 2 did not win. And why didn't they win? Because they didn't trust me yet. We were just getting to know each other. I told them what it would take to win. It's not like I had an inside track just because we were colleagues. It's what I know about the market and how to write an offer. But they don't trust me yet because we didn't have that conversation before they browsed the house. The third one, it was just pure luck. That home was not competitive that weekend. They had one shot, and they had to listen to me, and they did. And they won because that house was about to be staged, and I guarantee you we would have had multiple offers after that. So this is the same situation. You're browsing, you don't know the person, but the biggest thing is you are unprepared to write an offer. So let sellers understand that. When they're browsing, they're unprepared to write an offer. And in this market, we are down to under 5-6 days at the most for a house that comes on the market in good condition and it's won. So what is the point of having browsers walk through your house? Okay, so think about that, but it gets more dangerous. So Zillow is an advertising platform, and the settlement agreement is going to require an agency agreement between the agent and the brokerage, and it's a contract. There are 3 contracts in a real estate transaction. One between the buyer and the brokerage, the agent, the designated agent. 2, the listing agent and their client, the seller. And then finally, the offer, the contract to purchase the home. So the settlement will require after July that there is a buyer agency agreement in place. I didn't think this was a big deal because I always have one. I want to make sure, one, you're committed, and two, you're qualified. I don't have time to unlock doors for browsers. Those are open houses, and I do a lot of open houses. Second, my first line of insurance is through the brokerage. It's called errors and omissions insurance. That insurance does not kick in unless I have an agency agreement. I have a level of commitment from the buyer that they're committed to working with me and purchasing a home if I show them these homes. Now, is this a long-term commitment? Absolutely not. It is not a long-term commitment. There are no fees associated with this. I guess somebody could have a cancellation fee in there, but I don't put a cancellation fee in there outside of special situations where I'm doing something outside the norm. But typically, it does say that there is a fee if you continue working with me, that there's a responsibility that is paid during the buying of a home. But to start the search process is not a long-term commitment. Now, each agent has to make a decision as to, are they taking on browsers or are they taking on real buyers? So I want to have a conversation with you to understand your requirements, what you're looking for, understand your qualifications, so we get a pre-approval letter. If you're unwilling to do that up front, then I will suggest to you that you go to open houses. You look for styles of homes. You look for neighborhoods. You look at the communities so that you can hone down and hone in on your requirements. So one of the first things that Zillow says is that, insisting on a buyer exclusive long-term agreement with an agent seems a little premature. I just told you, it's canceling time, no fees associated with it. Zillow cannot offer a consumer-facing form, but they can give tools to the agents. Okay, so here it comes. Workaround, shortcut. And as my father would always say, nobody got anywhere fast on a shortcut. So, yes, buyer agreements are important. And I just told you my insurance does not kick in unless I have that agency agreement. So what are they proposing? They are proposing a touring document, a touring agreement. And we'll talk about what's in the touring agreement in a second. Instead, now, one, I would question, will this meet the requirements of the settlement agreement? I don't think so, because the settlement agreement is pretty clear on having an agency agreement. And that this is not a long-term commitment. And it provides, there have been lots of buyers who have cried because they paid too much, which means they negotiated high. They waived contingencies, and basically the house wasn't in good order, which means they did not do their due diligence and inspect the house before they waived that contingency. So then they had repairs that came along, blah, blah, blah. Lots of things. Well, that's the purpose of having that first consult. So they think the requirement to have the agreement in place is a little premature, and they're offering this to date the agents. Okay, sellers, I really want you to perk up on this. Think about this. Date the agent. Okay, so you are using someone for their license because the license allows them to open the box on the door, and there is zero insurance in place. You used the person, the agent, for their license to unlock the door to browse a house. This is not an interview. You are still going to have the same problems that you're crying about today if this continues. And this is what the settlement is trying to change. And it's happening today. People are browsing your house without an agreement and without insurance. the future is there would be an agreement which would force a conversation on qualifications. Again, if you're browsing, that's open house. If you are serious, you would have an agreement. You would have an agent. You would sit down and interview them on their qualifications to negotiate how do they handle the contingencies? Can they explain the contingencies to you? Can they explain things that you can put in place to mitigate risk so that you can still have a strong offer? What is the strategy to writing a strong offer? Not overpaying for a house. Can they give you the market numbers and show you the trends and illustrate to you the speed of the market and proper appreciation rates, blah blah blah, so you're not underwater. Numbers of market, that is definitely my strength. And you don't get that by watching them unlock a door. That's not dating. That's not interviewing. Again, that's enabling browsers to go through people's homes. It's enabling browsers and criminals to go through your house. So sellers, once you wake up, this is happening. And the settlement is trying to change that. And what was alarming to me was, why is this a big deal? Because I always do this. I always have one. And if we haven't signed it ahead of time, we're signing it at the first location. And we will continue going through how we will approach the components of writing an offer. But I don't have time to unlock doors without insurance for browsers. Okay, so Zillow's trying to get around it to accommodate keeping revenue in-house, to keep the agents from bailing on paid advertising to facilitate bad behavior by consumers in the market who just want to browse your house. Something to think about. Again, I carry business insurance myself, but my first line of defense is that errors and omission with my brokerage, so I need to have an agency agreement. And again, it's not long-term. It can be canceled anytime. Okay, so what does the touring agreement say? So let's just hammer this home. It is for the sole purpose for the broker to consult with the buyer regarding their specific properties they want to tour, and that in connection with this is providing touring services and to adhere to non-waivable duties required under applicable state law for real estate brokers working with a consumer in a non-agency capacity. I'm pretty sure that non-agency capacity takes out my insurance. Buyer and broker agree that they're not entering into an agency agreement. Okay, so if we didn't know we weren't in an agency agreement, the second line tells us we are certainly not in an agency agreement. We are just there for 7 days to offer a touring service. So sellers, browsers, going through your home with someone with zero insurance. Do you really want to be getting up and out of your house and fluffing the pillows? You're doing it today. So this document's not going to change anything. And I highly doubt that this will qualify for what the settlement agreement put forth with regards to the requirement of a buyer agency agreement. I mean, this just lights my hair on fire. I mean, it's already red. And it's really degrading the industry and the professionals who are doing a great job. But you know what? There are consumers out there who just want to browse. And as long as you're going to enable them to browse and unlock the door without insurance until something big happens, it's just like anything. Finally, somebody's house burns down, and then it becomes a big deal. So sellers, I would wake up and make sure you're working with a professional who's going to vet who's going through your house. You're going to hold open houses. You can encourage those folks to go to the open house. Insurance in place, covered by the listing agreement, relationship with the agent that you're working for, everything's copacetic.